This week on Jerusalem Dateline, former CBN Regional Director Mario Bucaro becomes Guatemala's new ambassador to Israel. And we hear more from Andrew Brunson and his wife Noreen about their more than 2-year ordeal in Turkey. Plus, a Swedish ship sails to Israel to stand with the persecuted church and bless the Jewish people. All this and more this week on Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. Earlier this year, the Latin American country of Guatemala became the second nation after the United States to move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. CBN News was on hand to see Guatemala's new ambassador present his credentials to Israel's president. It began with pomp and circumstance and Guatemala's national anthem. Then Ambassador Mario Bucaro presented his diplomatic credentials to Israel's President Reuven Rivlin. Rivlin noted the long friendship between Guatemala and Israel.
As we all know, Guatemala is one of the oldest friends of Israel. Now, as you have said, we have the embassy of Guatemala here in Jerusalem.
We're friends for forever, I would say, because since the border of the state of Israel, Guatemala has been a friend, but you have been also friends always. My mission and the orders that I have received from the president is that we can strengthen even more our relationship.
The ceremony ended when President Rivlin invited Ambassador Bucaro to sign the president's guest book. Later, Ambassador Bucaro and his wife were guests of honors at a reception hosted by Mike Evans and the Friends of Zion Museum. Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister Zipi Hotaveli came to greet the ambassador, as well as ambassadors from most of Central America.
I feel blessed with a great responsibility, but I'm very happy. It's an amazing time being in Israel. It's such a privilege because since I was a child, my mom used to sing me a song that one day I will be in Jerusalem, and today I'm here and I'm going to be able to honor that.
We have vast majority of the ambassadors from Central America here. And what are we talking about? We're talking about God blessing their countries, God blessing them. And it's an amazing thing. It's part of prophecy.
Before his posting as Guatemala's ambassador, Bucaro served as CBN's regional director for Latin America.
I just want to thank all the audience of CBN and especially the donors of CBN because for almost 10 years I have been part of this family. I continue to be families of CBN. Thanks Gordon Robertson and Pat Robertson for their vision, their example. And I'm here to be able to also to tell the world the love that I have for Christ based on their example too. And the best is yet to come.
And what did Bucaro write in the president's guest book?
Here I am, here in Jerusalem. I'm here to serve Guatemala and to serve Israel.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem. On another diplomatic development, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced the U.S. would merge its consulate and embassy in Jerusalem. The move could have a major impact on the future of Jerusalem, as you see from this earlier report. Behind me is the U.S. consulate in Jerusalem. For years, it served as a de facto embassy to the Palestinian Authority. That meant it answered directly to the State Department and bypassed the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Pompeo's announcement sends a signal that Jerusalem won't be a divided city. Now the consulate will come under the authority of U.S. Ambassador David Friedman, which some consider a victory over the objections of the State Department. Former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren, hailed the decision. In a tweet, he called the restructure a great day and that it signaled U.S. support for the Jewish state's claim to all of Jerusalem. He said it ends the last vestige of American support for the city's division. Israel, he said, is deeply grateful. But Palestinian leaders condemned the U.S. decision to downgrade the consulate. It had a separate channel to Washington to report on Palestinian affairs, with a consul general whose authority was close to that of an ambassador.
They are dictating the ideologically committed team of President Trump to take Jerusalem off the table. This to us is like another settlement outpost in occupied Jerusalem. This does not create any facts other than dismantling the two-state solution.
Mideast analyst Pinchas Inbari says the move kills the idea of two capitals in Jerusalem.
It meant that the consulate is for the Palestinian capital in the future, and the embassy is for Israel. By uniting the two bodies in one means that there is no partition of Jerusalem anymore, and there will be no Palestinian capital in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is a united city as far as the Americans perceive it.
The Palestinians want Jerusalem to be their capital of a future Palestinian state. Inbari says while the Palestinians are shouting, no one is listening.
If you watch around, no Saudi reaction, no Egyptian reaction, very mild Jordanian reaction. The only party that is reacting is Ramallah, not even the East Jerusalemites. They don't care.
The move is the latest decision by the Trump administration to change the status of Jerusalem. Last December, President Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. And in May, he moved the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This decision will make it harder in the future for Jerusalem to be the capital of two states, one Jewish and one Palestinian. For years, many ships from Europe have set sail to condemn the Jewish state. Many of these flotillas sought to delegitimize Israel in the eyes of the world. But one ship came recently, not to criticize the Jewish people, but to love them. As this more than 100-foot vessel sailed into Herzliya Harbor, dozens of other ships, boats, and even windsurfers came out to greet her.
I saw this whole fleet coming towards us from Herzliya. It's like, how many are there going to be? We thought maybe 2, 4, 5. And in the end, we were just surrounded all around with all these small and large ships. And I had to literally pinch myself. I said, what are we part of?
The name of the ship is called Alita, and it sailed from Sweden for two reasons.
We want to show solidarity with two groups. First of all is the Christian minorities in the Middle East that are about to go extinct. And so we're trying with this sail to raise our voice, to say, listen to them and to those who are left. This is the cradle of Christianity itself. And Christians are almost going extinct because they're killed for their faith. Then, where can we sail with this message? And the only answer is Israel. Because first of all, it says Jesus, sailing for Jesus on the side. There's no other country in the Middle East that would open up their ports for us. And it's the only country in the Middle East where the Christians are growing in numbers. So we want to support Israel in this.
The inspiration came to Captain Stefan Abramson in 2017 during the Jerusalem prayer breakfast, when a waiter told him,
"You are a Christian, you are a Swedish guy, and you love Israel." I have never ever met a person like that. And then I said, hello, we are a lot of people in Sweden who loves Israel. When I come home after that prayer breakfast, I felt we have to do something. We can't only sit here and don't do anything, you know. For me, love is nothing you talk about. Love is something you're doing.
That doing turned into an historic voyage to Israel, along with a message.
I say to them, hello, you are here of a purpose. God gave you the 10 Commandments and you gave the Torah. And that's the most beautiful gift you gave to the whole world community. They don't used to hear Christian people from, especially not from Sweden, saying this word to them. But from deep of my heart, I believe that's true. So as a Christian, I have to support Israel. I have to support the value of what they're standing for.
Sweden is considered by some the most anti-Israel country in Europe. Captain Abramson and his crew want to change that.
I'm praying for a golden age between Jewish and Christian communities. I believe that what we're doing now is something God wants us to do.
CBN News joined the Alita as it set sail in the Mediterranean along the coast of Israel. The Alita attracted attention from all over Israel. Today, Israeli Sea Scouts came on board for a hands-on experience. They hoisted the anchor, manned the helm, and relished the experience. Also on board, Dan Sheckman, who won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 2011.
We need more friends like this that will come to visit us and will give us a word of support, action of support, and tell the people in their countries, hey, Israel is a wonderful place.
The crew didn't expect such an enthusiastic welcome.
We've been blown away of the love that we've been met, but also by invitations to all these different places.
Some Israelis came skeptical, but left changed.
When people come on board and they meet us and they meet the love and just friendship, it's changing hearts. One by one, we're changing hearts. And some people have literally been crying. And one crew member said it's like they've been starved for attention from Sweden.
Karen sees the Bible come to life.
If you read Isaiah talking about ships coming from the Gentile nations to Israel and showing their support for the nation, I mean, yes, it's part of it. And I do think that there's a time when we need to express our love and to side by side with the Jewish nation.
As the voyage ended, Captain Abramson shared his heart with the visiting Sea Scouts.
We sail all the way from Sweden to start a movement of friendship between Sweden and Israel. I wish you everything the best, and I hope to see you again in the future. Thank you very much for coming here.
Then they taught the Swedish captain an Israeli cheer.
Ale! Ale! Ale!
Earlier, he played Israel's national anthem, Hatikva. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, on board the Alita off the coast of Israel. Coming up, Pastor Andrew Brunson and his wife Noreen tell CBN's George Thomas about their more than 2-year ordeal inside Turkey. Pastor Andrew Brunson and his wife Noreen endured a more than 2-year ordeal in Turkey. The Turkish government accused Brunson of aiding a 2016 coup to overthrow the government. He spent more than 2 years in a Turkish prison or house arrest, and he faced possible life imprisonment. President Trump secured his release, and recently CBN's George Thomas sat down with the Brunsons to find out how they survived their trial of faith under fire.
Andrew, how did God sustain you these last 18 months?
I think through the prayers of God's people. What I've said to my wife, I said, where is all the grace that I expected to come pouring out from these? Obviously, many people are praying, where is the grace? And what I found is that God was taking me a different route and was not letting me feel or sense the grace that is there, that's sustaining me. So I say it was like an unfelt grace, an unseen grace. But then as I look back on the things He brought me through, and I realize my incredible weakness, then I say, oh, He was there the whole time. He was carrying me through. The grace was there, I just didn't sense it.
Did you ever lose hope?
Oh, yes. Especially the first year. I was really broken. A number of times I lost hope. And that's where I came to a point where I had to look away from hope and more towards submission. And the point of the submission was saying, God, if this is what you have for me, I don't have the strength to do this. I can't endure in prison long term for years. I don't want to. But if this is what you have for me, then I want to serve your purposes. But then I need you to strengthen me. I need you to pour into me the courage, the strength, the perseverance, the steadfastness of Jesus, because I don't have it. So every day I would pray for this. And it became my cry was, I want to be found worthy to stand before you on that day without regrets from things left undone, from cowardice. So I don't want to be a coward. I don't want to leave undone the assignment that you've given me. But I need your strength for it.
Noreen, you were in prison with Andrew for 13 days, then you had a chance they let you go. What got you through those 18 months when you only had a chance to see Andrew once a week for 35 minutes? It then got extended to an hour. But what got you through?
Yeah, again, first of all, the prayers of people around the world. Some were especially touching to us. All prayers were wonderful. We were really touched by the prayers of the Turkish church. We were touched by the prayers of Iranians, Chinese. These are suffering churches. And to know that they are praying for us was just very humbling. So that was, there's no question that we were carried on a wave of prayer. Secondly, it's just pressing into the Lord. Difficult times, that's what we do, right? We have to press into the Lord a whole lot more. And there was a shift from, Lord, walk through this day with me, to, Lord, you lead me. We're still walking together, but you lead me through this day. So definitely spending a lot of time in His presence, sometimes just sitting quietly, because I thought, what can I say, Lord? But definitely holding on to Him.
We at Christian World News, we were reporting on your plight for a very long time. Literally, there were people in some of the most difficult parts of the world, whether it's Afghanistan, Iran, China, Saudi Arabia, all around the world, believers who were facing tremendous challenges, but they knew your story and they prayed.
Amazing.
How does that make you feel?
Well, I never felt worthy of this prayer. It was astounding to me. As Noreen would tell me, I'm very isolated in prison. But Noreen would tell me, these people are praying here, they're praying in this other country. And I'm thinking, why? Because, we're in a corner of Turkey ministering for years in relative obscurity. Why should all these people be praying for me? And I came to see that the Lord was doing something much bigger than just dealing with me. That He was gathering prayer, I think, for Turkey, for the purposes that He has for that country, and also in the Middle East. So I think I'm a little part of something very big that God is doing. And that's why God raised awareness in other countries and had people praying for us.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Up next, a major human rights organization accuses Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank of widespread torture. The watchdog group Human Rights Watch released a harsh report that accused the Palestinian Authority security forces in the West Bank and also Hamas in Gaza of widespread torture and arbitrary arrests to quash dissent. Both the Palestinian Authority and Hamas denied the report, but Human Rights Watch says it interviewed nearly 150 people as part of its 2-year investigation. CBN News reported on the brutal torture of Palestinians by the Palestinian Authority earlier this year. Take a look. Most people would call a man who saves the lives of innocent men, women, and children a hero. But if that person is a Palestinian and he prevented a terror attack against innocent Israelis, the Palestinian Authority does not hail him as a hero, but an enemy collaborator and a traitor.
I know this isn't right to go and kill people on the street. This isn't right to blow up buses.
But that's not the view of the Palestinian Authority, who condemn this man and others as collaborators for helping Israel. Some say thousands of Palestinians underwent torture, even death, for acts the rest of the world would call heroic. That's why an Israeli law firm here is representing 52 accused collaborators and suing the Palestinian Authority for compensation.
We have the privilege to represent those Arabs who were tortured, to give a little bit of comfort and try to protect those people.
The violence took off in the 1990s after the signing of the Oslo Accords between Israel and the PLO. That's what's called the peace process today.
Terror was rampant in Israel. There weren't just a few Palestinians that were helping Israel to fight terrorism.
The Oslo Accords required the Palestinian Authority to fight terror, but according to attorney Barak Kedem, that didn't happen.
The Palestinian Authority that had made a deal with Israel, the Oslo Accords, carried out actions against those collaborators that were trying to prevent terror.
The stories are hideous.
They took his little sister, a teenager, brought her to the jail, and threatened him. If you don't confess, we'll rape your sister. They had no red lines, so he confessed, but it didn't help. She was murdered. What she went through until she died, we don't know. It's really like ISIS.
This man, who will call Baber to protect his identity, was taken in for questioning.
They entered the room and asked, "When did you start working for the Israeli Shabak?" I said, "I don't work for the Israelis."
This was just one kind of torture he endured. After 7 long months, he signed a blank piece of paper that served as a confession. He then worked in the prison for more than 2 years until his parents raised enough money to buy his freedom. Mahbir is another. Freedom hasn't been easy, however. Fortunately, they now have hope. More than 15 years after the torture ended, their lawyers won a suit, leading to a 2,000-page verdict from the judge, one of the longest in Israel's history. Initially, it provides the victims about $420,000, enough to cover medical evaluations. The next move, determining the extent of their injuries and claiming an estimated millions of dollars in damages from the Palestinian Authority. That money could be deducted from the $200 million in tax money that Israel collects on behalf of the PA each month.
The Palestinians will not give it to us. They are giving money to terrorists to kill our brothers and sisters.
Attorney Nati Rome says the story is even more shocking. Rome says of the more than 230 human rights organizations they notified, 99% replied they have no means to help.
Where is the UN? Where is the EU? Where is everybody who would like to speak about human rights in the Middle East? This is the real story.
Only one group took the challenge.
We think that dealing with human rights of Palestinians is our obligation, no matter what our political view is.
Mary Shalem, CEO of the Institute for Zionist Strategies, says helping these men is what being human is all about.
We have an explanation why the other human rights organization didn't want to take care of it. They didn't want to deal with suing the Palestinian Authority. And the other reason, we are dealing with collaborators who helped the security of Israel.
They've taken the first steps in a long battle. Now they hope Israel and the West will join them in standing behind these unsung heroes. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem. Coming up, a heartfelt thank you from Jerusalem. Well, that's all for this edition. We wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for your continued support of Jerusalem Dateline, which is now seen in many countries throughout the world. Week by week, we consider it an honor to report on what's happening here in Israel and throughout the Middle East. From a Swedish ship blessing the Jewish people, to the ordeal of American pastor Andrew Brunson, and the dramatic diplomatic developments, we strive to inform you of the important news to understand the times we're living in. So thank you. And remember, as always, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.